So cryptocurrencies, well, when I first got to know it, I knew it as blockchain. But some years ago, when I was actually introduced to it, one of the features that kept flashing at me and people kept, all the blockchain advocates kept repeating was that it's so secure and it's unhackable. But the unimaginable happened, and yes, they were hacked. And this happens to be a cryptocurrency platform, which is, if I'm not mistaken, based on blockchain, the blockchain technology. And yeah, 19 million in cryptocurrency assets from Cream Finance was taken away by the crooks. Any thoughts, guys?
Welcome to the Security Lab podcast.
I think to be fair to these guys, they are still saying that blockchain is impenetrable. And all these losses are because of a third party who is holding on. I think I remember just now before we start, Doc, you had some explanation about what the blockchain was supposed to be doing and not doing. Maybe you can give us a brief on that as well.
Okay, so when we started off blockchain or Bitcoin, which implements blockchain, it was actually a means to anonymize transaction. It was not meant for anyone to hold currency. So essentially the way it works is you buy a certain amount of Bitcoin. That means you have to convert fiat or cash into Bitcoin. You make the transaction and the person converts it back from Bitcoin to fiat or whatever currency. So it's supposed to be a platform that anonymizes exchange of funds. It was never designed to be a bank. It was never designed to be a platform where you hold money. So that being said becomes the first problem of this whole thing, because it was never designed for it to replace the banking system. It was just, okay, I want to transfer money. I don't want people to know who I'm transferring with, because the only thing you see at both ends is a wallet ID. All right. So the wallet is tied to a cryptographic key, and only the person with the key can decrypt and make transactions with that whatever Bitcoin that's there in that wallet. So now you have this platform that allows you to transfer. What happens? People now saying, oh, I can hold this amount of Bitcoin, and when the value goes up, then I decide to convert it back to currency or fiat. So you have that back and forth conversion of money and non-money. But here's the problem. You have this virtual currency that's practically non-existent. And I say non-existent because it's not like a $1 note that you can feel the crisp and you can say, this is money. You can't see it, you can't hold it, you can't smell it. It doesn't have any of those features. It's just a number in a ledger, and you're essentially transacting that ledger. So then what happens is, how secure is your wallet? So number one, are you using a simple password? Are you using key-based wallet? And if it's a key-based wallet, is the key generated inside the wallet sufficiently secure? So you have all these arguments about how you manage the wallet. That's the first part. That's if the currency or the cryptocurrency is with you. What if the cryptocurrency is kept by the exchange? So usually what happens, you sign up to an exchange, you put some money, you buy a cryptocurrency. At this point of time, that cryptocurrency is kept in a wallet by the exchange. It's not with you yet. What you need to do then is transfer this amount from the cryptocurrency account that you have into your wallet in order for it to be yours. So most people, what they do, they buy cryptocurrency, they keep it in the exchange. But is the exchange secure? I think from time to time, what we are seeing is that the exchanges are getting hacked, or the owner of the exchange suddenly sees, wow, I have $10 billion worth of crypto coin, let me disappear. And we've seen a couple of cases where the crypto owners now suddenly disappear. Now, that's one part of the problem. The other part of the problem is attackers now see they've moved away from the banks because they find that the banks have improved their security posture. They do all this vulnerability assessment, pen testing, whatever exercises, adversarial emulation. So they've kept themselves secure. Exchanges are not governed. Nobody has any regulations about how exchanges are supposed to operate as compared to a bank. So guess what the bad guys are doing? I have this fresh target where I can go and I can attack and I can make easy money. So as a result, what happens? The bad guys now have gravitated away from these institutional organizations into exchanges, and they have been fairly successful attacking this exchange. So that's in a nutshell what's going on right now.
I was going through some research documents and I found that by the end of 2020, there had been 147 incidents worth total 7.8 billion US dollar with regard to breaches in exchanges and Bitcoin. That is the kind of damage we are talking about. And if someone tells me that the platform that they are working on are not penetrable, and you give me these numbers, I'll be shocked to believe you, that these places are safe to put my money, where I can't even chase back my money because it is not regulated in my country and some other countries as well. Can you imagine you lose your money and got nobody to report it to?
A lot of people have lost a lot of money. Various reasons. It can be because the exchange got hacked. And if you have to notice that the exchange are not covered by insurance, they get hacked, it's gone. So one of the selection criteria you should have if you're getting into cryptocurrency is, what are the means of protecting your investment if something happens to the exchange? So is the exchange going to be recuperated by an insurance policy? And if so, how much do you spare to you to lose? For example, in Malaysia, if you do a money deposit in one of the local banks, you're covered up to 250,000 ringgit per account. And if something happens to the bank, you get back that money. So in that sense, the physical money that you put in a bank actually has a guarantee.
Whichever is lower.
Whichever is lower, right?
Yeah.
So now with cryptocurrencies, do you really have that guarantee? Because I see cryptocurrency exchanges advertise themselves as an exchange. They don't advertise themselves as a bank. And the reason being is because the minute you are a bank, you have all the sets of regulatory requirements, liquidity requirements that you have to meet in order for you to operate as a bank, which can be an interesting business case, right? Because
so how much different is the regulatory requirement within an exchange and a bank?
So for a bank, number one, you have liquidity requirements, which means that a certain percentage must be always available and you cannot go down that threshold. That's because that percentage is how you honor your commitments. Secondly, how do you manage your risk? So for example, if you're doing cross crypto exchange, example, you take Bitcoin, you change it to Ethereum, or you change it to Dogecoin or whatever other coins that you want to change it to, how do you balance your ledger? And how do you then monetize this particular exchange? Because for some exchange, what they do is they probably have, say, about 1,000 Bitcoins. So when someone buys a Bitcoin, you may not actually go to an open market and buy that Bitcoin. You may just buy it from the exchange because the exchange itself has sufficient Bitcoin. All it does now is takes, just say, 0.5 Bitcoin from its master ledger and puts it into your account to say that you now have 0.5 Bitcoin, right? And exchanges do this. They do this at bulk so that they retain their amount of cryptocurrencies in case if the market moves up or the market moves down. But here's a macroeconomics 101. Your physical currency is backed by something, which means that if you decide tomorrow and say, I don't want this dollar note, I want something in return, and you go to the central bank, they will give it to you in equivalent of gold or any of the commodities that is backed, that currency is backed. So you actually get something equivalent in return. Now, when you go to a crypto asset, say if you have 0.5 Bitcoin, the only thing you can exchange it for is you go to the exchange will say, I can change it to you in US dollar. It's not tied to US dollar. It's not pegged to US dollar. It is just a means to exchange. So then the question is, how does anyone determine the price of a cryptocurrency?
Demand and supply, is it? Right?
Demand and supply. So for example, Prof writes a brilliant malware that holds people's TV ransom, like what we spoke not too long ago. Yes, suddenly what happens? The demand for Bitcoin goes up because Prof only accepts Bitcoin. Why? There's a demand for Bitcoin because people need to use their TV. So they're going to buy that Bitcoin, transfer it into Prof's wallet. So when this demand goes up, the price starts going up. But the question is, what demand drives cryptocurrency up? I really have no idea.
I know.
I'm still trying to figure out
Tesla.
causes the... Yeah, Elon Musk and his tweets can bring the price up or down. But honestly, I have no clue. Maybe Prof can shed some light on this.
First and foremost, developing a malware, and in the case that you have said, is going to be something very dangerous for me to even consider. If you look at the whole concept of virtual currency itself, as you nicely briefed us earlier on, it's based on cryptographic methods. Using these methods, they afford us those features that everyone is talking about. They are private, they're decentralized, they are anonymous. They eliminate the need of third party. Then here we have two aspects where we would want to talk about the security features, or even the how secure it is. This virtual currency. One is the virtual currency itself, and the other is the exchange. But the fundamental question that I would like to ask is, when you distribute trust through decentralization, does that mean it is more trustworthy? Do you have trust when you distribute trust? Let's talk about this one, because that's the whole underlying, for the fundamental, the basic, the backbone of all Bitcoin. Before we want to talk about other things on that. Generally, the principle of anonymity doesn't run away from linkability, that the recipient or the senders are anonymous. You cannot trace the transaction, you can hide the transaction volumes. But can we truly deny that something has occurred when it has occurred? I don't think so. There is always trace. And when unlinkability no longer holds, fungibility no longer holds as well. So in other words, what I'm saying is the fundamental concept of distributing trust raises trust issues on its own. That's the first one. And then you see, even if you have exchanges and all those things, no matter how secure they claim to be, they are similar to any other in my limited opinion, security providers. You provide something, it is also vulnerable. So with that, I don't think I'm going to develop a malware to target any smart cities. Even if I do, I'm not going to say it here.
No, I had a recent conversation on the social media, and they were saying that we need more female malware writers. That was a conversation that I had today in social media. They're saying that the whole malware writing industry, needs more females. So that's why I'm promoting you to actually do something. And when you're there, tell me, so at least I can make some money out of it. But yeah, you brought a great point.
Yeah.
Cryptocurrencies are no longer anonymous because end of the day, exchanges require to do KYC process, know your customer, which means that you are now tying your identity against a wallet. So what they do is in the recent investigation that was done by FBI on some of the guys in the dark net, and they were able to move crypto assets off these wallets. It was because they were able to de-anonymize the wallet simply because they were able to trace the final point where the cryptocurrency was converted into fiat, and they identified the person who actually converted it.
Precisely my point.
So that's an issue. But of course, bad guys have their own ways. They do layering, and they probably recruit mule account guys who are dumb enough to go to a Bitcoin ATM, take out their money and siphon it off. So now we have advent of Bitcoin ATMs is going to be even more harder, to trace. But you rightfully said that it is traceable now. It's no longer anonymous. The intention was, we wanted to have an anonymous means of doing transaction, but unfortunately, with KYC and with the boom of cryptocurrency, it's no longer anonymous. So chances are, if you have a wallet, you are more likely to be discovered as owning that wallet. Public safety announcement.
Where else can I keep it if not in a wallet?
Enjoying the show so far? Subscribe now so that you don't miss out on the latest episode. We are available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and many other platforms. Visit podcast.securityla.asia to get the links to subscribe.
What you can do is you can move it off the exchange. The one thing that I tell people, if you do own crypto assets, and if it's a sizable amount, please don't leave it in the exchange. Find an exchange that doesn't charge you to move your crypto asset to your own hardware wallet. I can't give you names of hardware wallet at this point of time because I stopped evaluating them years ago. I probably need to do another round of evaluation to see how secure they are. But having a hardware-based wallet actually helps. Essentially, the money doesn't sit in the wallet, just so that I clarify with everyone. It's just like a thumb drive. It holds the decryption key that allows you to unlock your wallet, which is in the ledger. Your money actually sits in the ledger. The ledger is the one that tells you how much you have in your wallet, right? Your wallet is just an identifier. It is just to say that this bucket or wallet or whatever you want to call it, a bag or a pouch, has this much of cryptocurrency in it. And when you use your hardware wallet, you are unlocking it so that you can make transactions. That's about it.
Okay. And the question for the cybersecurity professionals in the room, Doc, you shared about how users can protect themselves to, like for example, checking whether the exchange which they're signing up for has insurance and things like that or protections. But then how can the exchange protect themselves?
Exchanges needs to practice a level of security in par with banks, full stop. Which means you take the banking framework requirements, you take the regulatory framework requirements, you do it as it is.
They must be regulated.
Well, at this point of time, if you ask me, they should be regulated.
Yeah.
But if they are not regulated for whatever reason, use the same regulation framework. If you need to do pen tests every quarter, if you need to do adversary emulation, if you need to do phishing simulation against your staff, do it. Because end of the day, the exchange that's going to have most customers is the exchange that's going to be able to prove that you stay secure no matter what.
Is that
And
a
of course, the
reason?
exchange.
Is
And
that
of
a
course, the
reason why?
exchange.
Is there a
Yeah.
reason why you have 43? I was just looking at the list. You have 43 exchanges listed in Malaysia in 2019, and today you have only 4.
Yes. No, that's also because of regulatory requirements.
Mhm.
Some of them weren't able to meet the KYC requirements. That means they were not able to de-anonymize their wallets. So as a result, you can't operate in Malaysia, right? I mean, there may
So-
be other regulatory challenges that they face, which requires them to expand the capabilities of their exchange, which may be counterproductive or counter financially not good for them. So as a result, they say, like the most recent case was Binance. I think Binance had a hit in probably almost all the countries they operated. I think right now they're only doing exchange with US dollar, if I'm not mistaken. Malaysian government has asked them to say bye-bye.
Does Bitcoin, does cryptocurrency fall under the digital exchange?
Yes, it does, if I'm not
It does,
mistaken.
right?
I'll have to look through the standard,
Yeah.
but just off my head, I think yes. We have in Malaysia, they have recently issued a requirement for crypto assets. That's why they gave the license to a few of the providers locally that have started
So
to
these
operate.
4 guys are legal. Are you saying?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
They are legal because they meet the regulatory requirements.
Mm.
Which is why when you start off a wallet, you need to do the KYC, you need to put your national ID beside your face and take a picture, and that de-anonymizes the wallet at the exchange. But once you transfer it to a different wallet, if there's no database,
this
no
is the
database.
Malaysian, correct.
But that's the thing, you see, somehow that wallet has to reappear, because end of the day, if you want to exchange this for money, for fiat, you still need to use one of the exchanges, right? So I may put it into a hardware wallet. My hardware wallet has a certain ID, say 1234. I go to Singapore, I look at the exchange, I said, okay, I want some Sing dollars. Yeah, we'll exchange it. Then it appears in the ledger through another exchange. That exchange now has my identity because I presented the hardware wallet. So you see where you get caught in between the whole exchange, like what Prof rightfully said, the anonymity is no longer there because you are tying it back to physical currency. If you keep it as virtual currency, it's anonymous.
So what is your thought on, due to our backgrounds, it'd be good if you can share a little on the upcoming digital bank license versus the digital asset exchange and this cryptocurrency vulnerability that we are talking. It looks like maybe, just maybe, blockchain may be a safe concept, but the exchanges that came in later has created this vulnerability. So with the new direction towards digital banks, digital asset exchange, what would be the safe thing to do?
The first thing is secure your asset. Like what I mentioned earlier,
keep it to yourself. Yeah.
Keep it to yourself, right? That's the best way. You keep it in the exchange, you are actually at the mercy of the exchange. Now, a slight understanding of the difference between a digital bank versus digital asset. A digital bank is a bank that purely operates at an online level, which means that you do your KYC online, you open your bank online, your liquidity requirement, and all the risk management requirements is there just like a normal bank. It's just that you're transacting with your virtual account. That's it. But your virtual account stores money. So if you're in Malaysia, it stores Malaysian ringgit. If you're in Singapore, it stores Sing dollars. So it uses real money. It identifies you as the owner. That's just one part of it. Exchanges work in a different level. They look at crypto assets and they look at physical money. So for them, what they do is they convert either ways. So you can convert crypto asset into money, or you can convert money or fiat into crypto assets. So digital bank may not offer cryptocurrencies. They are digital, it's just that your whole platform is digital, versus a traditional bank that has branches here, there, and everywhere. So for example, how can you transfer money into your digital account? You can use existing banks to transfer money into your virtual account, right? Or they may tie up with an existing channel. Say, for example, if you go to 7-Eleven and you buy like a token, and then it gets transferred into your account. So that way, a digital bank can operate without even having a branch. They can offer you microloans, they can offer you financing based on how's your credit score. But they operate wholly online. There's no physical part to it. That's the difference.
Nice. This is Digital Finance 101. Thank you so much, Doc.
But I think that's always the legal framework does not really reflect the technology. And that's why we always have this gap between the technology and then the regulatories, like what you just said, KYC. But, in especially in the case of blockchain and virtual currencies and all those, because of the lack of comprehensive legal framework, therefore, there are many ways that is devised and enacted to circumvent the problems. Otherwise, virtual currency remains as virtual currency and nobody could actually use it for something. And because of all these regulations, we end up with what we just talked about in the beginning, all the loopholes and the insecurities and all those things. But fundamentally, the problem is not with the technology, but that the law has not caught up.
You're absolutely right. We are actually retrofitting the existing financial institution requirements into something that would never fit into that mold.
Exactly.
That's why we have players like TransferWise that actually works very interesting. You give money to someone else gives money to someone, and the end recipient actually gets money. So, reminds me of the Hawala system where you go to a money exchange, you give some money, and then you can go to another country, go to that money exchange, and you get money there. So there's so many of these models that we can talk about, and some of it, goes into the realm of money laundering. But end of the day, what we are doing, like what Prof rightfully said, we are retrofitting regulatory frameworks into technology. And it's going to take some time before we actually see some level of synergy between what the regulatory is expecting versus what the technology can handle.
And I'm going to go further than that to say that because of this, problems or potential problems will take longer to solve. Victims or potential victims remain at risk longer, and criminals are actually at large longer because of this fundamental how should I say it? I'm going to quote you, retrofitting practice, which does not rightfully apply in our context.
That's why people get into cryptocurrency and they lose a lot of money because they fail to secure the asset. Just like any other asset you own, it can be a Ferrari, it can be $1 million. You have to secure your asset. And you need to put in some effort to make sure that the asset that you own is sufficiently secure.
And because there's a fundamental mismatch in the way we are handling this, so we are looking at all the problems at large nowadays, ransoming, and then because it is something that could not fully be addressed and handled. So therefore, there is I won't say it from a supply and demand perspective, but rather this is the practice that is becoming more and more pervasive.
Yeah. So we've had a very lengthy discussion about cryptocurrency, how to secure it. We went into the commercial bank, the institutional banks, and we also went into a little bit of digital bank. So I hope it gives a clear understanding to our listeners on this topic.
Thanks for joining us this week on Security Lab. Make sure to visit our website at securitylab.asia, where you can subscribe to the show in iTunes, Spotify, or via RSS so you'll never miss a show.